Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be installing a set of Barkbusters Handguards on the 22 GS Adventure. And the reason I'm doing that is because you can see that the guards that come with the bike, which are okay, they will protect your hand from wind and weather and such, but they're not very sturdy at all. These are all plastic, and if the bike goes over, these will provide no protection at all for the hand levers and probably break either the clutch or brake lever and the mirror, but that's besides the point. So today the Barkbusters are going to go on, and you can see that the aluminum bars that are part of the kit are pretty substantial, and they will provide all the protection for the handlebar and clutch and brake lever areas. So besides buying I bought it all as a kit. So I just ordered the Barkbusters for this particular bike, and with the black hand covers, and these are the VPS plastic hand guards. So these will go on the end of the aluminum bars and in place of the factory, of course. So these little extensions will go on top of the hand guard, left and left. There we go. And it'll look something like that when it's installed. And you can adjust the height. There are two settings for the internal or the top extension hand guard. So you can set them low, or you can set them a bit higher. And that's it. So as far as tools go today, it's not a lot. A 14mm wrench and an adjustable wrench, or two 14mm wrenches. 1 3/8 drive ratchet with a Torx 50, 1/4 inch drive ratchet with a Torx 30 and a Torx 25, 1 Phillips head screwdriver, and 4, 5, and 6mm hex keys, and some thread locker. This is Loctite 242. So the directions say to first remove the original handguard, the bar end weight, and this plastic support bracket that's attached to the mirror post. In order to get that bracket off, just slide this piece of rubber up, and it exposes a jam nut and the mounting stud there. So I'm going to use 14mm and my adjustable, because I don't have two 14mm wrenches, and we're going to get these loose and take that mirror off. All right, the mirror has been loosened. We'll just take that out. There's a washer here, which we'll remove and hold on to, and that exposes this plastic support that's attached to the original handguard. So now that that's off, I'm going to take my Torx 50 and remove this bar end weight and the rest of this handguard support. All right, with my Torx 50, wow, that wasn't tight at all. Interesting. Okay, that comes out. This bracket lifts off, and the original handguard is now off. Didn't even need that Torx 25 there. Let's put this aside. And here's the bar end weight and the original bolts. All right, here's the left side support bar, and the directions are pretty clear. The bars themselves are not actually marked left or right like the plastic hand guards are, but in the directions you can see the orientation, and they go left side first in their picture here. And you can see the orientation of the bar, and they tell you don't do it this way, do it that way, and that's with this end of the bar pointing up. So that would be this support bar. Alright, so we have to loosely assemble the clamp and saddle to the handlebar next to the mirror and clutch lever bracket. So stand by. So the clamp and saddles are also not marked left or right, but you can see from the orientation in the directions based on this end of the, I guess that's the saddle. You can see the shape of that in the picture, not that one, is this one right here. So this is the one we're going to use for the left side. This is a very snug fit between the clutch reservoir and the handlebar, and this clamp would not fit as is. So I had to use my Torx 25 and remove this Torx screw here to take this cover off, and then a Torx 30 to loosen these guys, just enough that I can now get this clamp behind the reservoir and onto the handlebar. I'm going to tighten up these saddle clamp bolts with a 4mm hex key. Add that to the list of tools that you will need. And when you tighten this up sufficiently, they say leave everything kind of loose to make it all fit. Don't forget to tighten up your Torx bolts that hold on the clutch and clutch reservoir, as well as put back this plastic cover with the fog light switch in there. Now we're going to attach the support bar, and we're going to use flathead bolt and the big bolt that's in the kit. Use the original end weight, and the order is going to be from the outside in: bar, bar weight. Of course, the bolt goes through all of that, and then the flathead bolt will connect there. And this is still very loose, so we get the final adjustment. All right, I have everything snugged up just enough to hold it all in place. And the directions say when viewed from the side, the support bar should be horizontal or slightly below the lever assembly. And here's the lever right here. Take a look from the top, and it is completely protected by this support bar. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove one bolt at a time, put a little thread locker on there, and then tighten everything back up. And don't forget to observe the torque specifications that are listed in the instructions. Okay, everything is attached properly, torqued down properly, nice and secure. I think you could probably lift the motorcycle up by this aluminum bracket. Not that I would try it, but if the bike falls over now, these are solid, these are protected, and we should be good to go as far as that. Now to put the front handguard protectors on. Okay, as far as the plastic handguards go, there are no directions that come with these. You get the lower one and the upper one. They attach to each other, and they're height adjustable, or I should say the upper one is height adjustable to the lower one. But they don't tell you how to attach these things to the support bars. So, best I can figure out is it goes on, obviously, in that spot. There's a hole in the aluminum here, and there's one over here. And the only hardware that comes with the plastic handguards is a set of screws like this. One's a little bit longer and a little bit thinner, and one's a little shorter and fatter. So about the best I can figure, based on length, the longer one will attach the upper handguard to the lower handguard. And you have these mounting spots here. So just based on the reach of the screw, I don't know if you can see that, but that looks logical to me. And then the short, slightly wider screw So these guys will go in here, and it'll keep the lower handguard in place. These do not appear to be threaded on the inside, so I'm going to say self-tapping, and hopefully it holds. All right, plastic handguard installed. I guess I was correct. The shorter, wider screws are pretty solid in here. I'm just surprised that it wasn't something a little more substantial to hold these things on there. But they're in there. They don't seem to be going anyplace. And I set the upper guard to the highest position because, well, why not? That's what it looks like from the front. From the side. And from the back. I've checked all the switch gear. Everything does what it's supposed to do. All the lights work, horn, etc. Clutch is okay. Nothing's binding. Everything's tucked up nicely and secured. Just going to put that mirror back on and then move to the right side. All right, on the right side, we'll pull this rubber boot up, exposing the two 14mm nuts for that mirror. And again, I only have one 14mm wrench, and I'll use an adjustable to help me out. Okay, I've loosened the lock nut on top, and the mounting nut is already loose. Let's take these guys off and remove the mirror. The mirror is off. That will free up the mount for the OEM handguard. The Torx 50 at the bar end, and we'll take this guy right off. Wow. Not tight at all, surprisingly. Okay, just grab that bar end weight and the original bolt. That all comes out. And the original handguard, there it goes. Falls right off. Right side's a little bit easier because there's a little more room to work. However, in order to get that clamp in place, I have to loosen up the brake lever mount just enough to get that saddle and clamp in place. There we go. Okay, that's where it should be. And there's an index mark on the bar, and there's also an index mark on the plastic for that mount. So I'll just line them up and snug this back up. Okay, I've got the saddle and clamp in place, and those bolts are loosely in place. I have the flathead screw loosely in place. The original bar end weight is there, and now the new bolt to secure this aluminum bar in place. And I'll tighten these up somewhat, but still keep them loose for adjustment. Things are usually easier the second time around, and they go faster, usually. So remember when I said earlier that the correct position is with the bar horizontal or slightly below the lever, and that's about where I have it now. I also said there was an index mark on the housing for the brake reservoir and the brake lever, and it's right in there, and there's an index line on the handlebar as well. Well, I lined everything up, and what I didn't like was that underneath here, this saddle was not pinching, but kind of impeding on the harness going to the switch gear and the clutch as well, the throttle as well. Brake line is completely in the clear and not a worry at all. But I didn't want Maybe that's a better view. And I didn't want this saddle squashing these lines, so be real careful of that when you install this thing. When they say horizontal is slightly below, I would go with slightly below on this side, just to give some breathing room up in here. You don't want to pinch these guys. Everything's tightened up in the final mounting spot, and it all looks okay. Looking from underneath, no pinch at all to these two harnesses. Completely in the clear, and that's good. Looking from the side, the bar is just slightly below horizontal, it looks like, and I'm okay with that. So I'm going to take these bolts out one at a time, put a little thread lock on, and then reseat them, and then we'll put the plastic hand guards on the front. All right, all set. Because I dropped this one just a little bit to allow for those harnesses, I went back to this side, even though there was no issue with harnesses, but it's got to be even. So I dropped this one just a little bit, and now you can't see with the backlighting, I'm sure, but they're even between them. Looks good. I would caution you against gorilla-ing these things down too tight. These screws that hold the upper guards into the lower guards. It's only plastic, so make them snug and you'll be okay. These guys in the front that hold the whole thing onto the bar, they're pretty solid. So go ahead and tighten those up. Just don't overdo it, and they should be fine. Last thing to do is to put that mirror back in place, and that's it. I've already checked switchgear, everything works, no issues. So mirror's going back on, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, final product, all done. Mirrors are back on. These are secure and pretty substantial, I have to say. So now these levers are protected in the event of a fall, which I am sure will happen. So that's it. I'll have the complete tool list in the beginning of the video. Not that much more from what I originally had up there, but a couple of additions. And that's it. Not a difficult job at all. All right, thanks for watching. See you the next time.